Oh, we're on first name basis. We're getting kind of tight with the desk. We love to see it. A lot of doubt on the desk, though, for real. Like, it's almost like the Gladiators are undefeated, and this is Boston's first match, and there's a lot more hype for Boston. Well, what camp are you sitting in, Leg?
I am sitting in the camp of the Kongdu loyalists, baby, because the blessed child has returned. He has emerged from the dark ether and back into the light of day. Birdring's back, baby. Woo! And as a legacy Kongdu fan, as a Season 1 London fan, I could not be more absolutely stoked to see this hitscan legend back on the stage. Antarctic Peninsula is going to be our first map. I don't know how to say those words because there's only one word that I care about saying in this particular cast, and that is Birdring.
I know, right? And starting lineups, Birdring's playing alongside Decay. A lot of personality on Boston. A full roster, 3 supports, 3 DPS, 2 tanks. Boston have options. This is a complete rebuild from last season. And I like to joke around and say Boston were just like building up their economy, you know, while all the teams were spending their money. They were waiting for their moment to strike. And, you know, if it's not a good season for them, Striker will leave them again. So go back to the Shock and then come back to Boston. We'll wait for the ultimate Boston season. I think this could be the season of the Uprising. But Gladiators, they've already proven in terms of results that no one's been able to touch them. At least not that when they're warmed up.
You know how most employment contracts have like a performance clause where you can be dismissed if you're not performing up to par? There's a reverse one in Striker's contract. If Boston don't pop off, I'm out of here, baby, as we head on out. Gladiators on the other side. We've already seen them today, and while there were a couple of shaky plays, with a double flex in particular, they looked absolutely unstoppable as we move out here onto Labs. Dante's going to once again be enjoying the Ramatra, but you could be going up against a more fearsome Winston than the legend himself in Smurf.
Yeah, Dante already showed a couple of picks in our earlier match just 15 minutes ago from the Winston, the Doomfist, the Ram. He's trying to counterpick as much as he can, and I think he's quite comfortable in the Winston mirror. And so far, you've lost Babel, you've lost Twilight, and a tank for Glads. Boston ahead, now able to take so much space now that Smurf is free and Birdring is unloading. So first fight for Boston.
So check out that cool little thing in our UI there when you look at Smurf. He's got the roll star icon in the bottom left next to his portrait. And it's a good chance to talk about the accolades of a Boston Uprising. I believe the most title wins of any team we have, Lee Shagon, Izayaki, and Twilight all having at least one to their name. Smurf's got one, Birdring's got one from Season 1. Only Decay has actually not walked away with a season win himself, but who knows? Season 6 is upon us here in 2023, and there's always hope, Lemon.
Kind of how, like, I said the Gladiators were the Avengers. It feels like Boston also took a lot of good pieces from other teams. Decay needing a better team after the Justice. And I was hyping you up for that Pulse Bomb, man. And now Kepster is shining bright on the other side. He gets a pick on the Smurf. Both tanks removed as we have a 4v4 taking place. But Boston just trying to play off the picks. They've actually nanoed Birdring, who slaps Kai in the head, goes for a double kill. But man, Kepster's also getting those trades. So Boston just barely holding on to this point, falling back now to their healers. Smurf will have presence just to anchor.
Birdring has 6 HP. He needs a health pack and a cuddle right now, but Smurf, like you said, anchoring down here, and Dante's been heavily denied from actually getting onto any targets. This might be a touch of space for him to work with, though, as Birdring channels the Deadeye.
Just trying to zone them off, but that's Nano Dante speeding on in. I love that they have Funny Astro too for that high-tempo aggression play style. Even Dante in an interview said that this is something he's had to adjust to since his days on the Houston Outlaws. And it feels like a big key to their success to overwhelm teams. And even staggering out Boston late here is big, but Gladiators have quite a gap in the score to close.
Oh, that was such a long punch. Mr. Fantastic would be eyeing that enviously. And now Dante has access to the Annihilation. I wouldn't be surprised to see Smurf try and use her Primal Rage potentially to try and control that at the moment. Annihilation's still early in its tactical depth where we haven't seen too many specific strats to try and deal with it. Actually, Krandov had one over on the previous Nepal to get Dante off the map, but no Enviros here.
Like this Deadeye, this just zones off Boston, who are just playing on the other side of the map anyway. Gladiators don't need to really force their hand. It's Boston that have to pressure this point. Now Smurf jumps on top of Kai, forces out the barrier for Bunny Astro, who speeds the team back out of this dive. Boston cannot stop. They went with their own sound barrier too, but Smurf primals some people off the map, goes after more. And after all the trades are said and done, we have a 3-on-1 for the point, and Boston will recap it.
Okay, so let's talk about right now something that's going to be highly infusing for every Boston Smurf fan out there. The Smurf heads are super happy. But Smurf, Ligegon, and Decay seem to have already entered the hive mind state. Their 3-man dives are looking sublime. But Dante still has the Annihilation in the back pocket, and it might well need to be popped in this fight if they need the armor refresh, because we're getting towards last fight territory for Boston.
Oh, Kai's getting pressured by a Nano, Winston, and Babel too, and Dante got slept mid-annihilation. The Deadeye for the burst confirmed that kill. Boston, 99%. Quite a statement to make as they just ran circles around this brawl comp of the Gladiators and really showed them how it's done.
Oh, and Bergering at the moment sitting on a princely throne, doing so much damage. He's currently on track for 11k damage per 10 minutes. Compare that to Kai on the Cassidy, who's on track for 7.4k damage per 10. Admittedly, Kai was in a losing scenario, but Bergering is hitting the shots right now. And that's what matters most. Retirement did not slow him down. Currently on 8 final blows out of his team's, I believe, 17.
And I think that what's important to consider with the big damage gap you just brought on is the fact that Smurf is making a lot more space than Dante is. That big Annihilation ultimate of Dante got slept. Shout out to Twilight there. He was a highlight on the Toronto Defiant. You're glad you picked him up, one of the best Anas in the league. And Decay has 0 deaths and is following along with Smurf so well. We go to sub-level now where Brawl is a lot stronger.
Yeah, this is where the Brawl can certainly clear out that high ground a lot more easily. The positioning of Twilight here, up in the high ground actually is a choice. Remember that Dante can try and force them out, but that's a great boot from Ligegon. What an isolation.
Nemesis form for Dante just to kind of have that block available if he takes pressure, but he's climbing back up to that high ground. That means Boston able to take some free space. 0.1 lock in a second. You got to see those tracers anchor that. Kevster versus Decay, that's an important 1v1 that will determine if Boston have to drop to help him out, if the Glads have to do so as well. Glads drop to the low ground, and they got some range from Kai. Those headshots are deadly, and Birdring doesn't benefit from that same range and that same one shot. Glads might have capped for now, but Kevster might have gone in a little too deep.
Decay might well be staggered here. The recall, though, it is lost, and so too is the tracer themselves. Boston Uprising will get away with that. And Decay already trying to pressure the point. Let's see who drops down. Looks like it's Dante who's actually going to be taking up that challenge. Smurf is there to meet them, but now peeling for these squishier backline members might be a touch harder.
Smurf might want to jump on top of Kai and does a good job of doing so. He has Ligegon, he has Nano. What more could you want? The Gladiators, especially Dante, appealing for his backline, but when you're bubbled off or when you're getting LOS away from your Ana, he's not getting enough support.
No.
Kevster's presence in the backline is certainly felt after that pulse bomb in a 4v4, but Boston losing members, losing the point shortly, trying to anchor that is Decay, who has a pulse, maybe could have a fight-turning moment if he can deal with Kevster. But meanwhile, the point held by Boston, who are trying to close the gap in the score.
Decay uses the recall, now has to be super careful into the slow, and Dante's quick to pummel down the Brit. And now escaping from that Nemesis form is going to be top priority. What an anti.
Ooh, what annihilation too. Even if it got bubbled off, he's still got a 3k at the end. Dante showing how it's done. And keeping this high ground, being able to defend it too, is going to be big for this Brawl comp.
Fantastic bit of shepherding as well from Dante to force them into Babel's sightline in order to allow Babel to hit that big nade. Unfortunately, Smurf did a little bit of mischief, a heckin' mischief in the lobby by running a pulse bomb into Ligegon in the previous fight. So now Ligegon is a little bit behind on the sound barrier, but still should be viable very soon.
Oh, if Boston fight through this choke, they got a Dragon Strike with their name on it, but Kai is holding on to it. Maybe it's going for a split. Oh! No! Ligegon, not like this! Not your first match, man! Oh, Flatshot's gonna have a lot to say about this one, but Birdering makes up for it. Double Deadeye. Gladiators also don't have Dante slept as he tries to keep on kicking, but he'll be kicking some dirt. Boston flipping the point, but it's at 91 for the Glads.
you killed my sound barrier cast and you activated my trap card. You all looked at Lige gone, and that's when the rest of Boston Uprising could truly get something done. A little bit of mechanical faux pas there maybe on a couple of Gladiators doors. You can see Decay already looking for this pulse from early. There's not really much we can try and shut it down, but Kevster's faster on the draw. That's 2 stick kills now for Kevster.
Decay is very confused on whether to try and peel for Kevster or to follow along with Smurf. He got stuck between a rock and a hard place, and Decay's impact wasn't felt, at least not in that moment. Kevster got the first kill of that fight. Great pulse, of course, as now Gladiators aim to point in their favor. Now needing to deal with this bubble. Lijedon takes a headshot by Kai, who's been sitting comfortably in the back line. Boston cannot afford to lose this fight. 92 and growing as Glads get back the objective. Smurf extremely low. Kai is getting the assist from Funny Astro, and all the kills are coming the way of the Gladiators, looking to force a round 3.
Oh, I feel like we've already got a banger on our hands, and we're not even halfway through Antarctic Peninsula. What a performance from Kevster there. So many critical sticks, including, as we said before, one onto Smith that he decided to say, hey, Lige gone, buddy, you got a defuse kit over there by any chance? Come take a look at this. And early kills onto Birdring. Super important. Remember that Birdring can technically survive that by using the combat role, but maybe didn't have it. Maybe a little bit of cooldown timing there from Kevster. Remember, this is actually, I believe, the first time we've seen Birdring play competitively in Overwatch 2 after the long tenure. And that was, I'm gonna go ahead and say it, Lemon. That was downright foolish from Lige.
Goofy. A little
that was a real goofy barrier.
Especially with Dante there, you can't underestimate how much damage Ramatra does. Needing to maybe fall back behind his tank would have been the better move. Either way, going to the final round of Antarctic with Smurf on the Doomfist, and it's Birdring on the Sojourn. Finding the headshot onto Kai. It's 4v4 though. Got to be using these jumps from Sojourn quite carefully around maybe Kevster and how much pressure he is putting on, but Dante at least can take in a lot of pressure at the front on the Ramatra. Smurf has to take angles around it, but Dante's been antied, is trying to block, but takes too much damage. And nothing that Funny Asher could speed him out of. Gladiator doesn't even get control of the point throughout that.
Twilight, an absolute raid boss on the Ana. His most famous hero for a reason, a legend of the art. Whenever anyone says that they're an Ana main, you ask who their favorite Ana is, I guarantee you, about 50% of them at least are gonna say Twilight. Los Angeles Gladiators now, they have to try and cover the distance towards Smurf and Birdring here while dealing with the Doomfist. And Smurf here is gonna be more of a stalling tactic, just trying to buy time for Birdring to build up towards those rails and let them hit home.
Yeah, just Smurf punched forward, maybe looking for a better stun, or maybe kind of coordinating with an anti-heal with Twilight would be a good go sign, but he's below 50% HP, jumps in, dies, Dante's getting nanoed, and the pressure on the back line is huge. Kevster alongside him, but Decay had a few frags here and there. Now it's Kevster going after Twilight. Not sure if the sleep has been used, and it doesn't matter at the end of the day. Boston will only get 46 off of this first fight.
Now Smurf comes in though for a little bit of a late contest. Not sure if it's overly winnable, but 2 versus 2 here. Kevster decides to target the healer instead. It's the basic economy, and indeed the basic economy comes up big here as Dante pops the Annihilation.
Boston still think this is winnable. I mean, they popped the overclock, but I think with the Annihilation, you just want to get away from that as soon as possible. So 46 ended up into 60 after some late stalling from Boston, so not bad.
One of the interesting things you've got to think about in this particular compositional matchup is that Dante can block off the heals from Twilight using the shield and then go into Nemesis form after to try and punish Smurf on an engagement. Smurf actually gets nanoed here, and it's answered with a...
forces out the barrier, yeah, and Kai's rolling back. If it wasn't for that sleep, Kai would be so dead. And Dante's front line is just bulldozing everyone, so Glad still have to catch up by 30%, and they've used a lot of ults to do so.
I think Boston, they were actually trying for a sound barrier interrupt. We wanted to put Smurf into a backline with Seismic Slam and then use a quick punch to interrupt Funny Astro's sound barrier cast. But good evasion from Melusia means that it hits ground, and Lee Jae-gon now is going to have a slight advantage on that ultimate. But the advantage in point percentage is going to be lost soon for the Boston Uprising, as Decay is already checking Kevster here, looking for a path into a pulse bomb.
Lads, use the pulse bomb, it misses. Trying to remove Smurf out of the picture. Sound barrier from Lee Jae-gon. Boston up by 3 kills. Decay slept, but he's well protected. Now that's a good fight for Boston.
Nice double slam kill as well coming through from Smurf. And Los Angeles Gladiators, they might want to take a little bit of a poke face here. Have Dante catch some incoming damage in order to help. Hold up, what's Twilight up to? Oh no, it's okay. It's okay. I can lower the alarms. He's not doing anything too silly. Wait, the silliness may continue. Check this out. He's caught in the alcove over here. Disengagement's going to be super hard, and he's been scouted. Rescue's going to be necessary.
And he misses that sleep, and he misses the sleep, Oh, actually, he got it onto Dante. Okay, it didn't look like it hit on my screen. Either way, it looks like they were trying to slow down the tempo of the Glads, who are being separated from each other thanks to the punches of Smurf. Nano, Dante, Annihilation ready. Kevster's already killed 2, so you don't need to use that ultimate. They will need to flip the point, though. It's 99 for Boston. They have Annihilation and Barrier to think about for the next fight.
Oh, a stagger here would be brutal, and indeed it is. Kevster's getting so much good information on the Tracer scouting, as you guys have probably heard. Enemy over here multiple times in your head since starting this particular map. Being able to force resources out to save Twilight, like for Sleep, and the Anti gave an awesome opening for Gladiators to get some real value out of their own Nano. Now Boston going to try and retake here into the Annihilation, but once again, Kevster could shut this down in a singular moment using that pulse bomb.
See, Murdering is the one who gets Nano. You don't see that too often, but against the Barrier, it's a lot to carve through if you're Birdring. At least you get rid of Kai. Annihilation from Dante is just a brick wall as Boston pierced through it. Now jumping to the point. Decay with the pulse bomb too. Enough damage as the Boston Uprising in their first map of the Pro-Am will take it against the Glads.
Oh, I've got a Sherlock Holmes-esque mystery here that someone in the VODs is going to have to look at, Lemon. Funny Astro, after the Nano Overclock came in, used this sound barrier, didn't get cancelled, only hit him. Where was Astro? Where was Daniel Hathaway deciding to live? The sound barrier didn't grab anyone else. There's no Doomfist that could block off the line of sunlight you'd see usually from a shield, so where was Daniel? What was he up to? It was incredibly close, and this one is a certified Giga Banger already. I couldn't be happier to see this Boston team all working together and already exhibiting the synergy between Lee Jae-gon, Smurf, and Decay that gets me super excited for a nice dive.
What I really liked, because you said that the Barrier didn't hit a lot of people, for the Glads to point out that Smurf was so good at dividing the fight, of punching people over on the high ground, having some people fall back to the point. Kai often found himself isolated, and Birdring was able to win those 1v1s a lot of the time, and then you nano him. That's how much confidence you have in Birdring after coming out of the retirement home. I'm excited for how the rest of this match is going to break down, but we got to throw it to a break so we can hear from Glads and where their map's going to be.
Funny Astro. That is the delay tactics widely dealt in a 4v5. Oh, not quite so much anymore. Kevster dishing out the damage.
This is giving me vibes of Florida against the Atlanta Rain. What? That is dirty. A rough return here, just kind of getting bullied. That is it.
Wave hello, maybe goodbye to the rest of your team, Decay, because Lastro's on the field. Nano's in just to keep him alive. Rolling, trying to keep everybody alive. And Hydron, oh boy, punched into oncoming traffic. Dante shuts him down.
Welcome back, everyone, to what it feels like the match of the day. I think the two most hyped teams in this group facing off. Boston's star-studded roster took map number 1. It was pretty close, though, and some cool looks from everyone.
Yeah, we've seen some interesting rollouts from both of our teams in terms of the overall stylistic tendencies. It already feels like Boston are leaning a little bit towards that faster dive style, with Smurf playing both the Doomfist and, of course, the Winston that he's incredibly well known for. Both of our teams have also had a little bit of a swap up here. It seems like there's a lot of depth to these rosters. 8 members at the moment sit on the Boston Uprising, and here's a look at how Los Angeles Gladiators are bringing in for Hybrid.
Yeah, Funny Astro out, Lastro in, and we already saw this earlier on today on Kings Row, where Babel and Lastro played the Ana and the Kiriko as more of a slower pace but deadlier all-offense support line with the Kitsune Rush and the Nano. Boston feels like a similar vibe. Lee Jae-gon out, Izuyaki in, maybe a double flex could be in the cards, and Ana Kiriko, we will see. And Smurf is out, Kalios in.
Okay, Kalios, classically more of one of those off-tank players, as we used to call them in Overwatch 1, focusing in more on the Sigma, the D.Va, the Xayah especially for Kalios, but Xayah's not in a good place right now, it feels, in terms of the overall power level. So we're likely going to be seeing Sigma here on first point, or an attempt to rebuff any dives using some of the control that's available to those off-tanks. It's Blizzard World that's coming up. Critically here, though, for the Los Angeles Gladiators, they haven't brought in the Yaki that they used previously to free up Kevster to play other non-tracer things in conjunction with the double flex.
Gladiators had a lot of success on this map yesterday, though. I think that's why they picked it against the Boston Uprising. Gladiators beat down the Wisp. They stopped them at point B, and when they did get to that box of victory, there was still 4 minutes left in their time bank, and it was off of the Dante Winston dive, Kai Cassidy, Kevster Tracer, and then the Kiriko Ana backline as mentioned. And they looked quite good, but Kai a lot more quiet this series, and I think there's obviously a compositional difference here of being a Cassidy versus the Sojourn, and Kai not having the mobility to get away from a Doomfist and a Tracer always attacking him, but Control is always a smaller map.
Yeah, let's run over what happened to Kai in the previous map by taking a look at some of the highlights that we've compiled from Eco Point and Antarctica between our two rosters here. Obviously, we're not going to be seeing as much of dive tanks from Smurf, but we are going to be seeing plenty more of the King himself. Birdring has returned and is looking bloody good. Twilight as well. So impressive on the Ana, and I think that Izuyaki Twilight is one of the, unironically, one of the rosters of all time when it comes to double flex support. They are both him. They both got that dog in them. And when it comes to Warlords on flex support, you could not ask for better than Twilight X Izuyaki.
Yeah, Twilight hit a lot of critical sleeps on the Dante, and you already saw in the replays, you know, stopping the Annihilation, slowing down the Gladiators, who feel like such a high-tempo team off of Funny Astro, and I think that's why when they'll stick to that when it comes to Control of playing that Lucio, and maybe even Boston mirroring that strategy, but Birdring had quite a showing, was gapping Kai, although obviously there are factors to include, whether it was Smurf diving on the Winston, making a lot more space for Birdring when it came to labs, and then the other maps when you had Doomfist, still more space being created, Dante not able to just close the gap in terms of space to even get near Birdring, so he was able to just unload. It was great to watch. Blizzard World, though, you're favoring the Gladiators off of how comfortable they looked on this map yesterday against Wisp.
Hey, call me a fanboy here as well, but to return to the Birdring Sojourn, Birdring, having not played Overwatch 2 competitively last year, does not have any of the prejudices that you might have in terms of playstyle from pre-nerf Sojourn. Bergering knows Sojourn as she is now in a far more balanced state, and maybe that means that the grasp of the kit is going to be a little bit more au natural than someone who's had to change their Sojourn playstyle multiple times over the course of a year as we tried to nerf her down to a state where she was both fun and fair. And that might be a slight advantage, even though Bergering here on the attack, likely to play the Cassidy to try and control those angles that the Trace is going to want to take. That's going to be down to Kevster, who thus far against Decay, I think has been doing very well in the Trace at all. Maybe there needs to be a touch more attention there from a Boston Uprising to try and help out Decay in those duels.
Against Kai Cassidy, definitely going to be tough now that you have the Suzu from the Kiriko. And even asleep, there's lots of things to consider when going up against the Glads. But on the defense, you might have a lot to worry about if D.Va is going to be the confirmed rollout. I think we might have seen this from the Shock, or at least one other team on Blizzard World, where D.Va is very close range, but man, she packs a punch and she bullies Winston out of his bubble with those micro missiles, and is more of that reactive play style of just protecting your team. And now with the Zen, this is just gonna hurt if the Glads jump in on this.
All right, I asked for more help in the Tracer duel, and you can't get much better than the double orb dynamic. See Babel here, already being forced to TP out. We might see a critical difference between Boston Uprising and Team Peps here and how they follow up on Babel's attempts to disengage. He was slow on King's Row, picked multiple times too early. Babel's going to have to be quicker on the trigger this time, and then quicker on the secondary escape as well.
Just on the initial dive, Kalios is the one who pulls the trigger first. Would have liked to see Dante in that moment go for a counter dive while Kalios is out of position, especially if you confirm that sleep on the Kalios. This is even more time and space for Glads to find themselves in the back line. They have done so already. Killing Twilight is big, and you got no heals at all for defense, or for this offense, I should say, and no mech either. So Glads waited for Boston to act first, which is interesting.
Yeah, just kind of slowly tightening that noose around them and making sure that all of the off angles could be well collapsed upon at the same time from Gladiators. Remember that Bebel can actually all in as a Kiriko by TPing in with Dante if necessary, and that also means that Dante is going to be able to get a lot more quick healing from the Kiriko without having to worry about the travel time of those Fuda.
Can just stay with Kai on this off angle. Even explore even more as long as Babel has a dive or a teleport target. Has to still pay attention to Kai though, and that's the flex support squirrel brain. If you just want to damage as much as you can, and then you also have to pay attention to your DPS, and that pulse barely misses from Decay. Kai had the roll, Dante is slept. It's time to go for Boston. They take shelter in the mini room. Twilight being dove on there by Dante in the back. He's got the assistance of Kevster, and Kitsune rush first from Babel, as Boston are just barely getting that first hit, and they will confirm it as Glads just didn't get really much headway off of the Kitsune rush.
Great timing there with the Nano on to Bergering. The second that Dante dove on top of him with the Kitsune rush, knowing, hey, the escapability of the Winston, we've tracked that he doesn't have it. Oh, hello, Kai on his specialist. We've checked he doesn't have the Primal Rage yet, so why not give him a Nano boosted Fan the Hammer and just dispatch the Gorilla for the next turn. Kai, this is where legends were born. The
or you fall asleep. Depends if, you know, anyone shows up.
Sometimes you just want to do your attack FPS style where you'll hold an angle for several thousand minutes, and you know, sometimes you get to shoot someone. It's for hunter style,
you know. Stays away from Kalios, so it looks like Boston are just anchoring the card, getting free push. As Kai might have gotten information about at least Decay and Izayaki being in left door. Kalios is approaching, so Kai's going to relocate to the high ground. Now, someone needs to anchor this, so Dante is on the cart. Decay is not feeling good about that duel, especially with the Primal Rage that's been probably called out. Boston in the room, trying to avoid as much poke and denying sidelines from Kai, as Dante looked like he was trying to enter that and is at least dislodged Kalios from the room, but Dante not able to produce much outside of that. Decay found his way into the high ground to pulse bomb Kai, and Gladiators didn't get any picks that they were hoping for.
Kalios actually forced that Primal Rage by body blocking Dante in the room with all of the members of Boston Uprising. A huge big brain play that forced a huge resource out of Dante without really using anything on the side of Boston Uprising. Previously, Gladiators have been able to get huge amounts done here by forcing out early resources from Tracers to try and dislodge Bibble rather. But Decay's been doing very well in chasing up Bibble afterwards and making sure that they couldn't actually regenerate that teleport cooldown.
These Boston's have access to the high ground. The card is in pretty deep. Oh, the headshot. Oh, that was Kevster. I heard the dink. Either way, Boston is playing things slow, and I think if they keep waiting for Glads to jump into them being too antsy, that Boston do have good punishing power. They've already proved that when Dante went in too deep inside of the room where, like you pointed out, the whole Boston Uprising were there. Presence now on the cart, it's just Kalios. Yes, self-destruct, he's gonna use this as his secondary life option. Twilight will nano Birdering, lights up Dante, who's been nano, so the damage mitigation going big here. Gladiators punishing Boston, who went too deep to try and confirm that kill onto Dante. And Gladiators get a good hold.
Excellent focus fire there. Twilight's on top of the vending machine, but I'm afraid that it's keeping your snacks, mate. And you're going to have to go back off to spawn. Now Los Angeles Gladiators, they're in a very enviable position where we've got a huge amount of early poke damage between the Widowmaker and the Kiriko. And Birdring. Oh, now this is a duel that I would pay to see. One of Europe's best.
It's free to watch.
Head scratchers, head scratchers.
They're not even gonna see each other. Wah. We need to just like, screw this match. Let's go into a Widow 1v1, okay? This is what the people are here to see. Because it's both teams just waiting for the other person, the other team, to make the chess move first. Kalios and friends on Boston, few more meters to go. Kai picks off Decay, 5v4 for the defense. So getting a DMAC onto Kalios would be ideal, even forcing out the self-destruct. You don't want to use that, though. Kalios is going to get burned down by Kevster in a second. And I wonder if they're going to leave him out of mech. Yeah, they are.
The Tracer's role is multitude in this comp, and it's a very dynamic role where you have to simultaneously mark the enemy Tracer to stop them from being able to get too far into your own backline, but also the Tracer's responsible for a good amount of information gathering as well to aid the Widowmakers in being able to find their targets. Only 20 seconds remain now. Boston Uprising are very quickly running out of time here on second point, and we could see a repeat performance of Los Angeles Gladiators' previously impregnable hold on second here of Blizzard World. There's plenty of resources try and make it through there.
No div. You got sightlines here, huge advantage. Informational advantage for Kai, pays off. Shouldn't be peeking that now. You don't have the transcendence for this final fight. Kitsune rush from Babel and the Gladiators in a prime position to be taking, or at least holding off this push to point B with ultimates to spare. I mean, just based off of map positioning, the Gladiators gave Kai such a big kind of gap for Birdering, who just only had the small room to really operate from. Then Boston had a good punish on the Dante when he got too eager to just slap their DPS around, but Boston couldn't really produce much after that.
Yeah, Kai, like you said, so much more space because of the layering of the Gladiators' defense. You kind of had almost a faux front line of Kevster and Babel, who was kind of playing around Kevster, knowing that he could TP out for free easily, and you can hit easy headshots on Widowmakers as well, because they're slowed down or scoped in, and they got a big old headshot hitbox that Babel can really exploit. And that means that you've got to do a lot of groundwork as Boston Uprising to dislodge Kevster, to make room for Decay, to dislodge Babel, to make sure that you aren't going to get sniped in the side of the head by someone who can get out for free. And this also gives a huge amount of information over to Kai as well. And honestly, we did see a Ziaki ego check on Kai and was made to pay for it. But I think that Gladiators' layered defense here on Blizzard World Point B is going to be one that they continue to fall back on throughout the Pro-Am.
And I think Dante was able to reel back a bit. I think he's, you know, you go from being super aggro in control with a Lucio, with funny Astro Lucio escorting you around, to a more slower and measured style when Boston, they have the Zen, they have the Diva. This is just to blow up Dante as many times as possible. And he felt that on a couple of missed fights at the point. And he was able to dial that back and just rely on his DPS. And maybe not something Dante is used to doing, but he's on the attack. It's Kevster Widow this time, but just for maybe that initial pick, back to the Tracer.
So the Zai is real. I brought it up at the beginning of this match. I didn't think it would be real, but it might be a read here on Kalios, knowing that Kalios is likely to play the Diva. This is going to give a lot more capacity for Babel to continue surviving, and Lastro on the Lucio is actually something we're familiar with, thanks to Lastro's time on the Outlaws last year.
So yeah, like Zarya, rock, paper, scissors matchup. You got the scissors against paper. Dante could be very selfish with these bubbles. Maybe throw one to Kevster where he really needs a bone, but Gladiators have the counter to the Boston comp. Look, Dante's even going to the backline while Kalios is slept. There's no one to protect Boston at this point. And Gladiators already gotten a first tick. Maybe they should turn around and deal with the flankers, but either way, this is a one fight for Glads.
It feels kind of personal that Dante just rushed down Twilight. I mean, if you're sick of getting slept on your engage as a tank, you can just play Zarya. The sleep doesn't do more than 5 damage. It will not break through that bubble. Dante just absorbs, just eats up, gobbles up all of this Ana utility as she moves on forward. Izayaki now being able to leverage some high ground over Zenyatta might make Dante a touch more vulnerable. But you've got to hold this second point here of Blizzard Mod for 5 minutes, Lemon, and that's multiple ult cycles and pressure cycles from the Gladiators that you're going to need to have to survive and win multiple mechanical duels to do so.
We already said this was a strong map for Glads, and winning, which is unlocking the payload within the first fight, is already a little bit faster than Boston. They're getting free push. This is going to be the battle of ranged hit scans where Kai can get those random headshots, get picks, just like he did on Nepal's Sanctum. Glads now have to try and dislodge Kalios. It'll be up to Dante to take that duel, use his bubbles selfishly, especially during the micro missiles, especially if he's taking a lot of pressure. He's already used one, and Kalios trying to trap him in. Dante is baiting attention towards himself, and he's winning the duel against Kalios, who has to fly back up towards Twilight. Now the grab, just to get Birdering, but he gets nanoed, so he survives the ultimate. But meanwhile, Gladiators are getting so much free push until Kalios is back to anchor. But this high ground presence from Boston is dangerous. 2 kills for Birdering after he survives the grab, and he's not even done here.
The support there, super solid. Not only the nano, but the full defense matrix as well, just smothering Birdring, making sure that no projectile is able to reach the electric cowboy. And Kalios is doing a good job here of continuously disrupting Dante and making Kai divert his crosshair over towards Kalios, who he can't one-shot. Because remember that Kai in this duel has a much greater effective range than Birdring. He can headshot at any range due to lack of damage drop-off. Birdring's own damage is going to be significantly nerfed by the damage drop-off of Cassidy.
Got Barrier versus Transcendence too, both really good tempo ultimates. Especially now that you don't have the grab to worry about. You don't have Dante to worry about. There is no tank. Boston can stop the push. I guess Lastro is there, and he just beat it, him and Kevster. I guess they really feel like they're a team without Dante. They're getting some card push, but I'm not sure about that Lastro call.
That was potentially like several minutes worth of losing from that Lastro call. This might well come back to bite Lastro. As Kalios, he's happy to just sit here and start doing some tanking. Gonna be careful not to shoot too many of the shields just to mitigate the amount of damage that Dante will be able to put out onto him and generate, of course, that all-important Graviton surge. Meanwhile, everyone else can just sit up on high ground.
It's just so tough for Glads to fight front to back without Dante. Now he's in the picture, and he's been nanoed. He's probably got a lot of energy as Kalios wants to slow them down. Almost makes Dante for the Twitter clip. He's giving him the micro missiles, but the bubble from Dante ate so much of that damage. Still 2 minutes and 10 left for the Glads, who feel dismantled. Even Izayaki is killing both supports. Like, what is this game?
It's a drop down from high ground game. It was the same both times around. Accessing this high ground is so difficult against these double flex supports. And now, though, the cart pressure has changed the dynamic of the battlefield. Izayaki has to play down on low ground and Twilight falling down early. This is the chance for Gladiators to win, and they've got a Graviton Surge to try and make it happen. Kalios can stand in the way of this, though, if he eats the Graviton Surge.
That's a big ask. At least Kalios is there, but someone has to maintain the cart, by the way. We don't want a C9. Decay takes care of Kai, so you won't have the Dragon Strike through the Graviton as you would have hoped. So big heads up play from Boston, but presence from Gladiators playing front to back. Now that there's no tank standing in their way, but the flank pressure from Izayaki and Decay was too much for Glads to handle.
Decay is him. There's no other way to say it. If you guys haven't, by the way, check out Yiska's video on Decay as a gatekeeper. Fantastic look into Decay's career and how this might be his chance to truly claim the championship that everyone else on this team, with the exception of Kalios, has under their belts. Now it's Gladiators who are feeling the sting of time against the back of their neck. Kai, yes, has a Dragon Strike. It will likely be used to dislodge some of these less mobile supports like Izayaki and Twilight, but Twilight can counter any incoming aggression and major damage spikes with a nano boost.
Kai thinking, oh, I could plant this Dragon Strike to at least force the supports of Twilight Izayaki down, but not getting the information he needed. Boston have high ground control, and the nano on the Bird Ring to save him from the pulse bomb of Kevster. This team is next level. Gladiators only have 18 seconds. They had all the time in the world. The box of victory in their sight to force the final decider map. Dante's been nanoed, now onto the Diva, trying to chase down Kalios so they can get the meterage they need. But another target steps into the picture. It's a bomb from Bird Ring, the Transcendence to keep this defense kicking. Gladiators could not deal with the retirement home buff. The Boston Uprising stalled for minutes and minutes and will take the 2-0 over the Gladiators.
The Boston Uprising go big there, with Bergering just about getting the Bob at the most critical of junctures, surviving due to the quick-witted use of the nano to save them from the pulse bomb there. Twilight, it's so important that Twilight held his nerve in the penultimate fight as well. There were so many times after you lost Kalios, you're like, we've got to fight on the car. We need to give over the nano to someone who can try and contest this against the high-energy Zarya. We need someone to keep contesting this, but Twilight held his nerve. Thought instead, no, my mechanics can carry me through this. I'm going to hit every heal. I'm going to hit every nade and save the nano for when it was needed most, keeping the old veteran alive and making sure that Bob would hit the streets running.
Not the most efficient ultimate usage from Gladiators too, right? I mean, some of it not their fault when they had the big Graviton Dragon Strike combo. The one to rule them all for that final fight. Kai gets killed by Decay, I think. Something happened to Kai. Dante throws a grab, and then even his first grab, I think it was onto Bird Ring, and then he gets nanoed. So many times, Bird Ring got saved by a nano. His supports are on top. I feel like the player of the match should almost go to the Boston's backline for how many times they've salvaged fights. And obviously some goofy calls from the Glad, some inefficient ultimates, thinking about the sound barrier from Lastro, things like that. So, yeah. I think there was a very clear defining player of the match leg day. You all know who it is. Your player of the match is Bird Ring.
Call in to your friends who are fans of Apex. Say, my friend, my fan of Kongdu, my homie. Are you breathing right now? Are you good? Have you been experiencing a wave of almost deadly nostalgia from seeing Bergering dominate the lobby? It's been a big day to come back. A new game, but the same old crown sitting on the same old head. What a performance it's been from a hit-scan legend.
I think this was such a... We favored Gladiators coming into this map, but when the cart was as deep as it was, Boston just swapped to this super passive playstyle where Kalios initially was chasing Dante around on the Winston, but then peeled back, and all he did was sit on the cart and wait for Bird Ring and Decay to make plays. And I think this forced a type of panic from the Gladiators. For example, that beat engaged from Lastro without Dante alive. Dante solo grabbing a Cassidy. Obviously you want more targets in there, or going for the panic grab, and then Kai not maybe communicating the tracer pressure he was experiencing and dying to that. So Gladiators just couldn't really make the best decision under probably all the comms, and probably new comms, considering Gladiators are picking so many strong and loud voices from other teams.
Yeah, a 5-minute hold on point B is a lot of time to ruminate upon potential failures and for that tension to build. But it's when that tension builds, you look towards veterans. That's exactly what this team on Boston's made of. It's 100% veterans, wall to wall. We've got world title, roll star, world titles, and MVPs maybe sometime in their future. Smurf came bloody close, I'll tell you that. And honestly, when the chips are down, these are the guys who don't make the mistakes and they keep their nerve, and that's what allows them to hold Blizzard World Point B for 5 minutes.
That's a tough first match for Boston to have, and they start off 1-0 in groups. Gladiators getting their first ever loss, but I don't think there's been any worries in any of the communities because these are the two favorites for this group. And a lot of the desk were favoring the Boston Uprising. I'm wondering how much Mr. X is going to get bullied on that. We're going to throw a break so we can see the live Mr. X bullying. We'll see you after this.
As you just saw on your screens, Bob getting things done. That's right, and a long Bob. Of course, the entire team made it work as well. What a great match that was.
Yeah.
Love that they played it close. Lots of fantastic highlights, lots of great moments to break it down. And that's what we're here for at the Watchpoint game break. So let's start from the top. Map number 1. What are your thoughts heading into this?
I mean, you could see just from that little brief clip, as I believe this is Birdring getting a kill, but
I mean, you just see how fast Lee Jae-gon gets in there. I mean, he's, you know, there's some people, you know, Call of Duty is called playing your life. He is not playing his life. He is just getting in there, and it's either working or it doesn't. But I know for Boston, it was really great to see Birdring just back in general, right? You know, we talked to him a little bit earlier today, but like, you know, Overwatch, Esports Overwatch League, like the scene is better when Birdring is around and playing well. I think like one of the original players, just kind of like everybody fell in love with way back in the day. You saw a little bit of the Widowmaker come out from him as well, but this guy is really close, just down the wire overall in the series.
But I mean, like Birdring, it's crazy how like this guy took a very long break, right? He was out of the league for about a year, and he just comes back. And I honestly think he got better. Like how he played Sojourn, he was fast.
All right, Danny, hold on.
Widowmaker.
Danny,
he was just flexing on all these hit scan heroes. And he was like, you know what? I still got it. I can win this. And he did.
We saw like 9 minutes of Birdring playing.
But boy, were those fantastic 9 minutes.
when he stopped like playing, we were like, oh, Birdring's like one of the best. Like he could be like the best DPS player in the world. I don't know how you take a break and then ascend past there, but
I mean,
I think he did. Well, he just did. He just did.
I love the enthusiasm, Danny. Don't let Matt rain on your Birdring parade. Like, don't let that happen. But you know, as great and as pop off as Birdring was naturally, because that's just what he does. I think a lot of that, and that's something Lemon Kiwi and Leg Day hit on, was also just due to the support line. Like Twilight and Izayaki, they coddled him. They kept him alive. They used all of their abilities just so well to make sure that he has the survivability, he has the room to just do the Birdring things, and that was just really, really great to see.
Like I was surprised by how well Twilight played on that Ana, because we all know how great of a Ana player he is, but like, you know, landing those crucial nades, those sleeps onto like Dante, and like he was, like you said, there was moments where, you know, they were focusing on Birdring, and just Twilight was just refusing to let him die, like just giving him nanos. He was like, you are not gonna die, just keep shooting, brother. And and they just did that.
Well,
yeah, that's the kind of support you need to have.
Yeah, I was pretty impressed with Boston overall. I think the things you're worried about with them after seeing that is, are they like easily readable, whether you have Kalios or Smurf in the game? And then if they're going to play fast, like Lee Jae-gon needs to play a little slower than like really fast. Like you know,
there's no slow in his playbook. He can go faster. Like that's Lee Jae-gon's ways.
He's like Sonic the Hedgehog. He's just running. He's just going there straight. But like yeah, they gotta figure out a way to kind of play around that or get used to that style of play, because although that is his style of play, right? Like that's what he does. So you don't want to take that away from him, because you take away the really talented player he is. It's just figuring out those two things, I think, for Boston and the rest of the roster. I mean, you're looking fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, it's a similar scenario as what we've seen with the Florida Mayhem, right? Like, you know that when they're popping on the server, like, you expect something aggressive, you're expecting fast pace, and we're going to see kind of the same thing developing for the Boston Uprising. So interesting to see if they're going to have more different looks in their playbook or not. For now, however, we have an interview lined up for you. So, Danny, please take it away.
Thank you so much, Zoe. And we have a post-match interview with none other than the greatest hit scan player or so, or what Birdring himself said in the pre-show. We have Birdring for the post-match interview. Birdring, can you hear me? 들리시나요?
네, 안녕하세요.
안녕하세요. Oh, it's been a while. I feel like we haven't talked in a very long time. 되게 오랜만에 말하는 것 같습니다. So, you know, I want to start off this interview by talking about this match, because, you know, everyone knows, and we talked about in the pre-show how, you know, you took a long break and now you're back in the league and you just had your first match. How did that feel? Were you nervous at all, or like, you know, how did that match go for you? 자, 첫 번째 질문은 우리가 방금 프리쇼에서도 얘기를 했다시피 버딩 선수가 좀 긴 공백 시간을 갖고 이제 오랜만에 다시 돌아와서 굉장한 모습을 보여줬습니다. 어떻게 버딩 선수 처음으로 오랜만에 경기에 뛰신 소감 한 말씀 부탁드릴게요.
일단 굉장히 오랜만에 경기를 뛰게 돼서 이 리그에서 뛰게 돼서 너무 좋았고 일단 기본적으로 제가 아직 많이 부족하거든요. 그래서 훌륭하신 저희 코치님들이 있어서 아직 게임을 배우는 입장이라서 앞으로 좀 더 좋은 모습을 보여드릴 수 있을 것 같습니다.
All right. It's definitely been a while, but I mean, it just feels so good to be back playing in the league. I think I'm still lacking, and I think I still need a lot of catch up to do. But we have great coaching staff in the Boston Uprising, and I'm learning. I'm still in that learning phase about relearning the game again for the Overwatch League. I feel like today you had an awesome performance, even though you said that you were still in that learning phase, learning the game back again. Would you say what was something that you guys lacked? Of course, you guys got the win, but I feel like there's always something to be learned. So, what is something that you guys you saw that in the match that was being played that we need to work on this. 자, 두 번째 질문 방금 버딩 선수 말씀하셨다시피 좀 아직도 배우는 단계다라고 말씀하셨는데 경기는 제가 봤을 때 너무나도 좋은 모습을 보여줬지만은 어떻게 이기면서도 이번 첫 번째 경기를 하면서 좀 느낀 점이나 우리 팀이 보스턴 팀이 아직 좀 이런 거를 좀 더 열심히 해야겠구나라고 좀 느낀 게 있나요?
물론 경기는 이기긴 했지만 저희가 마음에 들 정도로 깔끔하게 이기진 못해가지고 아직도 저희가 부족하다는 걸 알고 있고 그걸 이제 좀 점점 이제 프로암에서 보완해가면서 좋은 모습을 보여드리고 정규 시즌에서도 잘 해보도록 하겠습니다.
Okay. Yeah, it is true that we did get the win, but I believe our fight or how we won the match wasn't as clean as we wanted it to be. There's definitely some lacking parts in our team. I guess team-wise. So I think those things with time and with more practice, I think it's going to get better. And I think we're going to work on that through the Pro-Am and also throughout the whole season as well. All right, I'm going to wrap this up with a final question. Birdring, there's a lot of talk in the Overwatch community after you made a comeback. There's which bird is the best bird in the Overwatch League? Because we got Hawk, we got Pelican, and we got you as well. So I want to hear your thought. Who is the best bird in the league? 자, 마지막 질문입니다. 버딩 선수가 다시 돌아오면서 지금 오버워치 커뮤니티에서 굉장한 말이 많이 돌고 있죠. 어떤 조류 선수 좀 말이 좀 이상한데? 어떤 새가 리그에서 제일 좀 좋은 새인가라는 말이 많습니다. 호크 선수, 매 선수도 있고요, 펠리칸도 있고요, 그리고 이제 버드링 선수도 있는데 어떤 새가 제일 잘하는 새인 것 같으신가요? 그리고 이유 좀 부탁드리겠습니다.
일단 당연히 저라고 생각하고 이유는 뭐 없습니다. 그냥 제가 더 잘한다고 생각하기 때문에 이번에 정규 시즌이든 프로암에서든 제가 다 잡으러 가는 모습 보여드리도록 하겠습니다.
Alright, it's of course me. Birdring is the best bird. Reason? There's actually no reason because I'm just better. I'm going to work a lot harder to get all those other birds to get on top of them and become the best bird in the league for the Pro-Am and also for the regular season. Alright, Birdring, thank you so much for your time. Again, big congratulations on the win. 자, 오늘 승리 축하드리면서 보내드리도록 하겠습니다. 감사합니다.
감사합니다.
Thank you so much, Birdring. I mean, Birdring that's not even a bird, so I don't know if he can claim
bird in the
supremacy.
name, it counts.
Bird. It's a bird that has a ring.
True.
Not?
That's a lot of drip for a bird. I guess that gives him the upper hand. I don't know.
Championship ring.
There we go.
Dang it! I should have said that in my question.
Yeah, in hindsight, that would have been really smart.
Yeah.
No, it's great. It's great to hear from him, though. I love that he comes out humble, like looking like an absolute monster on the server, and then goes like, "Yeah, I'm still learning. I wish I would look like that when I'm still learning the game." Like, thank you very much, making me feel bad about everything I've ever done in my life. But yeah, he looks like he didn't skip a beat. Can't tell that he's been on a hiatus, that he's been retired for over a year. So it's great to have him back. It's a better league for it, for sure. And we are excited to see more of him. Now, however, I do want to quickly chat about our next match, because we have another one for you. That's right. We do have, of course, a quick change in schedule due to some weather issues. But other than that, we are back on track with the next match.
You get Boston again, Zoe.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Birdring can be interviewed for the third time today after this.
You know what?
game.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Today we're gonna make it a Birdring day. If Boston wins, I mean,
Boston's gonna. Berdrank's gonna be so offended. It's like, why do they keep wanting to talk to me?
August 14th is the Valiant show of Overwatch League, and March 31st will forever be known as the Birdring episode.
It's the Birdring day
of Overwatch League.
We talked a lot about Birdring. I quickly want to talk about Decay as well. Let's talk about Decay. Hey,
Yeah.
Decay,
Who plays with
Tracer
Birdring?
God.
Plays with Birdring.
Yeah, he plays with Birdring.
Yep.
He's a Tracer God. I think he is one of the most talented Tracers that we got. And, you know, sadly, because I feel like because all of the teams that he was in, he unfortunately, you know, he could have done better, but he couldn't. But I think with this
Wait, what?
new Boston Uprising roster, I think
Yeah.
this is the time. Matt, you don't think so? You don't think this is the time
I feel like Decay has had plenty of chances to be pretty good. You know, but I do think with this roster, Danny, I think your kind of point earlier, they have like a ton of championship like experience, right? Like across the board with players on this roster that like this would be the one that would work, right? You know, you get him in this type of situation with players who you know you can win with, right? You've seen win in the past, and he can just pop off, do his thing.
That's right. Well, we have one more match for you. I'm very excited to see this one go down. But first, we're going to head into a very quick break, and we'll be right back right after that.